Ambassador Zethkar stepped off his transport ship and looked up at the tall building in front of him. The human embassy on Nexus Prime had always been busy. Ships came and went every day. Diplomats walked in and out with their strange human smiles. Today nothing moved. The silence felt wrong. Zethkar walked up the wide steps. His four legs clicked against the stone. The main doors stood open, but no guards watched them. Inside, the lights were dim. His breath made small clouds in the cold air.
"Hello?"
He called out. His voice echoed in the empty halls. No one answered. He walked deeper into the building. The floors were clean. The walls still had pictures of human cities and their blue-green planet. Everything looked normal but felt dead, like a body with no soul. In the main office, he found a single piece of paper on the desk. The words were written in simple galactic script. Humanity withdraws from galactic affairs effective immediately. We thank the Council for the years of cooperation. Our embassies are now closed. Do not follow us, that was all. Zethkar stared at the paper. No explanation. No angry words about their last fight in the council chambers. No demands or threats, just a quiet goodbye. He picked up his communication device and called Council Leader Vashati. The humans are really gone, he said when the connection opened. The whole embassy is empty. Vashati's purple face appeared on the small screen. Her 3 eyes blinked slowly. Good. Finally we can have peace in the council. But they left so quietly. No protests, no... Zethkar. The humans were always trouble. They questioned everything. They wanted to change laws that worked fine for thousands of years. They talked about rights for individual beings instead of species groups. Nonsense ideas. Zethkar looked around the empty office again. Maybe, but something feels wrong about this. Nothing is wrong. The galaxy will be better without their constant interference. Come back to the council chambers. We have real work to do. The communication ended. Zethkar put the device away and walked through more rooms. In the library, thousands of books sat on shelves. Human books about their history, their science, their art. They had left it all behind. In one room, he found star charts covering the walls. Lines connected hundreds of systems. Notes were written in human language next to many planets. He could not read the words, but the charts looked important. A sound made him turn. A small cleaning robot rolled into the room. It had been left behind to keep the building tidy. It moved around his feet and continued its work as if nothing had changed. Outside, news of the human departure spread quickly. On the streets of Nexus Prime, different alien species talked about it in their shops and cafes. Finally, said a Krell merchant to his friend, those humans always got in our way. Now we can expand our territory without them complaining about peaceful species. I heard they had strange ideas about democracy, said a Valonian teacher. They wanted every being to have a say in government. Crazy thinking. My cousin works in space shipping, said a young Nixari. He says human ships were everywhere. Trade routes, patrol duties, rescue missions. Wonder who will do that work now. The older beings did not worry about such things. The Galactic Council had run the galaxy for 10,000 years before humans arrived. They would continue just fine, but some noticed small changes already. A communication station operator realized that updates from the Outer Rim systems had stopped coming. Human exploration ships had been sending regular reports about new planets, asteroid movements, and space weather. Now silence. A trade coordinator found gaps in the shipping schedules. Human merchant vessels had carried goods between systems that other species found unprofitable to visit. Small colonies and research stations depended on those deliveries. A university researcher discovered that several important science projects had lost their team members. Human scientists had been working on problems that other species thought were too difficult or not worth the effort. At the council chambers, the 12 major species held an emergency meeting. The Great Hall buzzed with excitement. Finally, they could make decisions without human interference. Order, order! Vashti called out. The room quieted. Today marks a new beginning for galactic civilization. The humans have chosen to leave our community. While we respect their decision, we must move forward. What about their territories? Asked General Korvax of the hegemony. Their colonies and bases? All abandoned, reported Admiral Thyssen. Our scouts found empty cities, shut down facilities, and no signs of life. They took everything important and left. Their seat on the council? Asked Dr. Yalan of the Nixari Union. Will remain empty as a reminder that cooperation requires compromise, Vashati said. The humans never learned that lesson. The council members nodded and made sounds of agreement. They spent the rest of the day planning new laws and policies. Without human representatives asking uncomfortable questions or demanding votes on individual rights, the work moved quickly. But in the back of his mind, Zethkar still felt that something was wrong. The humans had not seemed angry in their last council meeting. They had not stormed out or made threats. They had simply listened to the debate about new security laws that would limit personal freedoms. When the vote went against them, as it always did, they had nodded politely and said thank you. The next day, he had expected them to submit a formal complaint or request another hearing. Instead, he found the empty embassy. That night, Zethkar stood on his apartment balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were traveling to places unknown. But where? And why had they prepared so carefully for this departure? In the space around Nexus Prime, traffic moved normally. Ships came and went carrying diplomats, traders, and travelers. But careful observers might have noticed that the ships were all from familiar species. The small, fast vessels that humans used were nowhere to be seen. On the edge of the system, an automated beacon floated in the dark. It had been placed there by the last human ship to leave. The beacon recorded everything that passed by and stored the information in its memory banks. Someday that information might be useful. The beacon's sensors detected the usual traffic around Nexus Prime. But it also noticed something else. 3 Krell military ships had moved to the border of Ythran space. In the past, human patrol vessels would have been watching such movements carefully. Now no one was watching. The galaxy seemed peaceful and quiet. The Galactic Council was happy. The humans were gone and life would return to the old ways. But peace and quiet could be dangerous things when no one was paying attention to the shadows where trouble liked to grow. The beacon continued its watch, recording everything, as the galaxy began to change in ways that no one yet understood. 3 months had passed since the humans left. The Galactic Council worked smoothly without their constant questions and strange ideas. Laws passed quickly. Trade agreements were signed without debate about worker rights or environmental protection. Everything seemed perfect. Then the emergency call came in. Council leader Vashati, the voice crackled through the communication system. This is Governor Yenth of the Ythran colonies. We need immediate help. The Krell are attacking our outer settlements. Vashati looked up from her desk. The Ythrans were a peaceful species. They spent their time growing food and making art. They had no military to speak of. Are you certain it is an attack and not a misunderstanding? She asked. Our colony on Ythros III is burning, Governor Yenth replied. His voice shook with fear. Krell warships destroyed our communication stations first. Then they began bombing our cities. Thousands are dead. General Korvax leaned forward. He was Krell himself, but he served the council. The hegemony should not be doing this without council approval. Let me contact them. Do it quickly, Vashati said, and call an emergency council meeting. It took 6 hours to gather all the council members. During those 6 hours, 3 more Ythran colonies were attacked. By the time the meeting started, the Krell forces had landed troops on 4 different worlds. This is an outrage, declared Senator Forth of the Terran. No, wait, the humans were gone. Senator Forth was dead anyway, killed in some human war decades ago. Vashti shook her head. It was strange how she still expected to see human representatives in their usual seats. The Krell hegemony claims these attacks are justified, General Korvax reported. They say the Ythrans were building secret weapons. That is impossible, Dr. Yilin said. I have visited Ythran worlds many times. They barely have space flight. They grow vegetables and make music. Nevertheless, the hegemony insists they have proof, Korvax continued. They demand the right to inspect all Ythran colonies for weapons. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to send a strong message to the Krell. Others worried about starting a larger war. A few suggested that maybe the Krell had real evidence. In the past, this would have been simple. Human peacekeeping ships would have been in Ythran space within hours of the first attack. They would have put themselves between the Krell forces and the civilian populations. The fighting would have stopped while diplomats worked out a solution. But there were no human ships anymore. We need to send our own forces, Admiral Thyssen suggested. The Council Defense Fleet can handle this. The Council Defense Fleet has 12 ships, Korvax pointed out. The Krell attack force has over 50, and they are already in position. Then we negotiate, Vashati decided. We will arrange talks between the Krell and the Ythrans. While people die? Dr. Yilan asked. While we prevent a galaxy-wide war, Vashati replied firmly. The negotiations took 3 weeks. During that time, the Krell occupied 6 Yithran worlds. They found no weapons, but they did find rich mineral deposits and good farming land. By the time a ceasefire was arranged, 2 million Yithrans had become refugees. But that was not the only problem. Captain Vex of the merchant vessel Starjumper sent a worried message to the shipping guild. The translation systems are going crazy, he reported. I tried to trade with the Zelani on Kepler Station. The computer told them I wanted to buy their children instead of their grain. They almost arrested me. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. The universal translation protocols that let different species communicate were developing errors. Simple words were being changed into insults. Trade negotiations failed because of misunderstandings. Diplomatic messages were received as threats. Dr. Yilan investigated the problem. What she found worried her. The translation systems were maintained by human linguists, she reported to the council. They updated the databases every day with new words, slang, and cultural changes. Without those updates, the systems are slowly breaking down. How long before they fail completely? Vashti asked. 6 months, maybe less. Some language pairs are already unusable. Vashati rubbed her forehead with 2 of her hands. Find other linguists. Train them to do the work. I have tried. The human system was incredibly complex. They had teams of experts for each major language. It will take years to train replacements, and we need the skills now. There were other problems too. Space traffic controllers reported that star charts were becoming outdated. New asteroid fields and cosmic debris were not being marked on navigation maps. Several ships had already been damaged by unexpected obstacles. Who was updating the charts? Admiral Thyssen asked during another emergency meeting. Human exploration vessels, came the answer. They mapped new hazards and sent updates to all the navigation databases. How many exploration ships do we have from other species? The answer was embarrassing. Most species use the same well-traveled routes between their home systems and major trade centers. The humans had been the only ones systematically exploring and mapping the space between, keeping the routes safe for everyone. Commander Zex of the asteroid mining station called in his own emergency. Our early warning system just went dark, he reported. We cannot detect incoming asteroids or solar flares anymore. Check your equipment, suggested the technician on duty. The equipment is fine. The sensor network that fed us data has stopped working. It covered 17 star systems. Now we are flying blind. Investigation showed that the sensor network had been built and maintained by human scientists. The sensors themselves were still working, but the communication links between them had been designed to route through human space stations. With those stations abandoned, the network had broken apart. Dr. Yilan spent days reviewing old records trying to understand how many systems depended on human maintenance. What she found kept her awake at night. Humans had been quietly maintaining communication relays across hundreds of systems. They had provided weather monitoring for dozens of agricultural worlds. They had operated rescue stations along dangerous shipping routes. They had maintained research databases that other species used for their own science projects. Most importantly, they had been the galaxy's emergency response force. When disasters struck, human ships arrived first with food, medicine, and rescue equipment. They did not wait for council approval or argue about payment. They just helped. We never paid them for most of this work, Dr. Yilan realized. She was talking to her assistant, a young Nixari named Kelu. What do you mean? Kelu asked. Look at these records. The humans provided services worth trillions of credits every year. But the council budget shows we only paid them for official diplomatic work. They were doing all the rest for free. Why would they do that? Dr. Yilan stared at the numbers on her screen. I think they thought we were partners. They thought we were all working together to make the galaxy better. And we were not. We were using them. We complained when they asked us to change our ways, but we were happy to let them solve our problems. That night, Dr. Yilan called her friend Admiral Thyssen. I have been thinking about the humans, she said. What about them? Do you remember the last council meeting before they left? We were voting on the new security laws, the ones that would let governments monitor all communications and restrict travel. Yes, the humans voted against it, as usual. They gave some speech about individual freedoms. What exactly did they say? Thyssen was quiet for a moment. Something about how surveillance and control never made people safer, only less free. They said that freedom and security had to go together. or you would lose both. And what did we say? That they were naive, that they did not understand the real dangers facing the galaxy. Dr. Yelan looked out her window at the busy streets of Nexus Prime. What if they were not naive? What if they understood something we did not? Like what? Like how to build a civilization that works because people want it to work, not because they are forced to make it work. Thyssen was quiet again. You think we made a mistake? I think we lost something very valuable and we do not even understand what it was. The next morning brought news of pirate attacks on 3 different shipping routes. The pirates had been growing bolder over the past month. In the past, human patrol ships would have hunted them down quickly. Now there was no one to stop them. The galaxy was still peaceful, but it was the kind of peace that came from everyone being too scared or too busy to cause trouble. That was not the same as the peace they had known before. And in the empty human embassy, the cleaning robot continued its work, keeping everything tidy for owners who would never return. 6 months after the humans left, disaster struck from the sky. The first asteroid hit Zelen Prime at dawn. The planet's early warning system should have detected the massive rock days before impact. Instead, it appeared on their sensors only minutes before it slammed into the northern continent. The asteroid was 3 kilometers wide. When it hit, it created a crater 50 kilometers across. The shockwave flattened cities hundreds of kilometers away. The dust cloud that rose up blocked out the sun across half the planet. Within hours, 2 more asteroids hit the farming world of Kelmar. Then another struck a mining station in the Vega system. None of them had been detected in advance. Emergency calls flooded into the council chambers. This is impossible, Admiral Thyssen said, staring at the damage reports. Our detection systems should have seen these asteroids weeks ago. Dr. Yelan pulled up the sensor network displays on her computer. Half the screen showed empty black spaces where sensors used to be. The network is failing faster than we thought. We have lost contact with 60% of our early warning stations. Why? Vashti demanded. What happened to them? Nothing happened to them. They are still working, but they cannot talk to each other anymore. The communication system that connected them was run through human space stations. Without those stations, it is like having eyes that cannot send signals to the brain. General Korvek stood up from his seat. How many more asteroids are out there that we cannot see? We have no way to know, Dr. Yelan admitted. The asteroid survey project was also run by humans. They tracked thousands of space rocks and predicted their paths. All of that data was stored on their computers. Can we access their computers? They took everything when they left. Even the backup systems in their embassies were wiped clean. The asteroid strikes were just the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, more problems emerged across the galaxy. The Krell hegemony announced they were claiming 12 new star systems. These territories are undefended and contain valuable resources, General Vorth declared. The hegemony has the right to claim them for our people. 3 of those systems contained small colonies of peaceful species. The colonists sent desperate messages asking for help, but the council was still debating what to do when Krell warships arrived. We cannot just let them take whatever they want, Senator Aldrich of the Centauri Federation protested. And how do you suggest we stop them? Korvex asked. The Krell military is larger than all other council forces combined. In the past, the threat of human intervention kept them from expanding. Now they know no one will stop them. The humans were not that powerful, Senator Thera of the Arcturus Alliance argued. They only had a few hundred ships. They did not win through force, Dr. Yelan said quietly. They won through reputation. Everyone knew that if you attacked innocent people, human ships would arrive. Not tomorrow, not next week, but within hours. That threat was enough to prevent most conflicts. We can build that same reputation, Vashati declared. The Council will create a rapid response force. With what ships? Admiral Thyssen asked. And crews from which species? The Valonians are good at diplomacy but terrible at fighting. The Nexari are brilliant scientists, but they get sick in combat. The Centaurians are brave, but their ships are slow. Every species has strengths, but humans somehow had everything. Meanwhile, the communication breakdowns were getting worse. The universal translator had failed completely for 6 language pairs. Trade negotiations between species stopped working. Important diplomatic messages were being received as jokes or insults. On the Rim world, something else was happening. Pirates and raiders who had been quiet for years were becoming active again. Small ships attacked merchant vessels and raided isolated colonies. Captain Jana of the cargo ship Heavy Lifter sent a frightened message to shipping control. 3 unmarked ships just took our cargo and kidnapped half my crew. They knew exactly what we were carrying, and when we would be passing through this system. This was not a random attack. Reports like this came in every day. The pirates seemed to know which ships carried valuable cargo and which routes were undefended. They struck quickly and disappeared before help could arrive. How are they getting this information? Admiral Thyssen wondered. The answer came from an unexpected source. A captured pirate revealed that they had been buying shipping schedules and cargo manifests from corrupt officials. In the old days, human patrol ships were everywhere, the pirate admitted. You could not move without them seeing you. Now space is empty. We can do whatever we want. Dr. Yilan spent her days trying to understand how much the galaxy had depended on human services. Every time she thought she had found everything, she discovered something new. Humans had operated mobile hospitals that served remote colonies. They had maintained seed banks to help worlds recover from disasters. They had provided education programs for developing species. They had funded research into diseases that only affected small populations. Look at this, she told her assistant Kelu. The humans were supporting 17 different refugee camps from various conflicts. They provided food, medicine, and protection. The camps are still there, but the support has stopped. What happened to the refugees? Some camps have been abandoned. Others have been taken over by local warlords. Thousands of beings are missing. Kelu stared at the reports. The humans never talked about this work in council meetings. They did not think it was worth bragging about. They just did what they thought was right. The worst discovery came when Dr. Yilan investigated the Galactic Research Network. Universities and laboratories across the galaxy shared information through a complex computer system. The system was still working, but something was wrong. Half of our research databases are failing, reported Dr. Mex from the Central University. We are losing centuries of scientific knowledge. Dr. Yilan traced the problem back to its source. The research network had been designed by human computer experts. They had created backup systems and security protocols that protected the data from corruption and attack. But the humans had also been the ones who maintained those systems. They updated the security software, fixed problems, and made improvements. Without their constant attention, the network was slowly breaking down. How long before we lose everything? Dr. Yilan asked. 6 months, maybe less. The security systems are already failing. Yesterday, someone hacked into the medical database and corrupted thousands of treatment records. That night, Dr. Yilan sat in her office and tried to make a list of everything the humans had done for the galaxy. The list grew longer and longer until she finally gave up. It would have been easier to list what they had not done. They had been doctors, teachers, engineers, scientists, soldiers, diplomats, explorers, and peacekeepers. They had built bridges between species that hated each other. They had shared their knowledge freely. They had protected the weak and helped the poor. And the council had seen them as troublemakers. We did not deserve them, she said to herself. Kelu knocked on her door. Dr. Yilan? There is another emergency call from the Outer Rim. A solar flare is about to hit the Altair system. They need someone to warn the mining stations. Who used to handle solar flare warnings? Human Space Weather Monitoring Service? Dr. Yilan closed her eyes. Send what warnings we can through normal communication channels. It will have to be enough. But it was not enough. The solar flare hit 3 mining stations before the warnings reached them. Hundreds of workers died when their radiation shields failed. At the emergency council meeting the next day, the mood was grim. We are losing control of the situation, Admiral Thyssen reported. Pirate attacks are up 400%. 3 more species have been conquered by the Krell. The communication network is failing. Our databases are being destroyed. And now we cannot even predict space weather. What about our search for the humans? Vashti asked. Any progress? Ambassador Zethikar stood up slowly. He had been leading the search effort for 3 months. We have found nothing. No trace of their ships, no signals from their colonies, no clues about where they went. They must have left some evidence. A species cannot just disappear. They planned this very carefully, Zethikar said. We found abandoned bases and colonies, but they were all cleaned out. No computers, no records, no equipment worth studying. It is like they never existed. General Korvex leaned forward. What about their home system? Surely they could not hide an entire planet. We are still looking for it. The humans never gave us exact coordinates for Earth. They said it was for security reasons. Now we understand why. Keep searching, Vashati ordered. We need to bring them back. But even as she said it, Dr. Yilan wondered if the humans would want to come back. The galaxy they had left behind was becoming a darker, more dangerous place every day, and somewhere in the empty space between stars, automated beacons continued to watch and record everything that happened, storing information that might never be retrieved. The galaxy was learning what it meant to be alone. The search for humanity became the most important mission in galactic history. Every available ship was sent to scan star systems, looking for any trace of where the humans might have gone. Ambassador Zethkar commanded the largest search fleet ever assembled. 200 ships from 12 different species spread out across the galaxy, following every possible clue. Check the trade records again, Zethkar ordered his team. The humans must have bought supplies somewhere before they left. His communications officer, a young Nexari named Pex, pulled up the data on her screen. The records show normal trading activity right up until the day they disappeared. Food, fuel, manufacturing equipment, raw materials, but nothing unusual. How much did they buy? That is the strange part. In the month before they left, human purchases increased by 300%. They were buying enough supplies to support their entire population for years. Zethkar felt a chill run through his body. They were stockpiling for a long journey. The search teams followed old shipping routes looking for clues about human destinations. They found abandoned supply depots and fuel stations, but all had been carefully cleaned out. The humans had left nothing useful behind. Dr. Yilan joined the search effort, bringing teams of scientists to analyze any evidence they found. At a former human research station in the Kepler system, they discovered something interesting. The power systems were removed very carefully, reported Engineer Voss. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. They took apart the reactor and transport systems piece by piece. Why would they do that? Zethkar asked. Because they planned to rebuild them somewhere else, Dr. Yilan realized. They were not just leaving. They were moving their entire civilization. The search continued for months. They found traces of human presence in hundreds of systems, but always the same story. Careful removal of all useful equipment and technology. No records left behind. No clues about their destination. Then Captain Thyra of the exploration ship Farseeker made a discovery that changed everything. I found something, she reported from the edge of the Orion spiral. It looks like a star chart, but it is not like anything we use. The chart was carved into a metal plate and hidden inside an asteroid. It showed star positions and travel routes, but the mathematics were beyond anything the Council species understood. This is incredible, Dr. Yilan said when she examined the chart. They developed some kind of new navigation system. Look at these calculations. They found shortcuts through space that we never knew existed. Shortcuts to where? Zethkar asked. Dr. Yilan studied the strange symbols and numbers. I am not sure, but some of these star positions do not match anything in our galaxy. The realization hit them slowly. The humans had not just left the galactic community. They had left the galaxy itself. That is impossible, Admiral Thyssen said when they reported their findings. No species has ever traveled between galaxies. The distances are too vast. Human technology was always more advanced than we realized, Dr. Yilan replied. Remember, they developed faster-than-light travel before most of us even had spaceflight. While we were arguing about territory and trade routes, they were pushing the boundaries of science. General Korvex studied the star chart. If they really left the galaxy, how do we follow them? We cannot, Dr. Yilan admitted. Even if we understood their navigation technology, our ships are not designed for such long journeys. But the search teams continued their work. If they could not follow the humans, maybe they could at least find their homeworld and learn more about them. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A maintenance worker cleaning out old council archives found a box of papers that had been misfiled decades ago. Inside were copies of the original first contact reports from when humans joined the galactic community. Look at this, Zethkar said, reading through the yellowed documents. The first human ambassador gave rough coordinates for their home system. He said it was near a yellow star in the outer spiral arm. Using those old coordinates and modern computers, the search teams finally traced the location of Sol system. The journey took 3 weeks through dangerous, unmapped space. When they arrived, what they found shocked everyone. Sensors show 9 planets orbiting a yellow star, reported Captain Thyra from the lead ship. But there are no signs of civilization anywhere in the system. Zethkar stared at the scanner displays. That cannot be right. Check again. They spent days scanning every planet, moon, and asteroid in the system. The third planet from the star should have been Earth, the human homeworld. Instead, they found a beautiful blue and green world with no cities, no technology, and no intelligent life. The atmosphere is perfect for human biology, Dr. Yelan reported. Oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor. The climate is ideal. This has to be their homeworld. Then where is everyone? Zethkar asked. They landed on the planet and explored for weeks. They found forests, oceans, mountains, and deserts. They found animals and plants that matched human descriptions of Earth wildlife. But they found no trace that an advanced civilization had ever existed there. This is impossible, insisted Engineer Voss. A planet cannot support billions of people for thousands of years without leaving some evidence. Where are the cities? The roads? The industrial sites? Dr. Yelan knelt down and picked up a handful of soil. I think they cleaned up after themselves. Look at this planet. It is too perfect, too pristine. Someone worked very hard to make it look natural again. You mean they restored their homeworld before they left? I think they gave it back to nature. They took their civilization with them and left the planet the way it was before they evolved. The implications were staggering. The humans had not just planned their departure from the galactic community. They had planned their departure from the galaxy itself. And they had done it so thoroughly that they erased almost every trace of their existence. But the search teams were not ready to give up. They expanded their investigation to nearby star systems, looking for any clue about human origins or destinations. In a system 20 light-years from Earth, they found something that made Dr. Yelan cry. It was a small space station, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. Unlike everything else the humans had left behind, this station was still active. Its computers were still running. Its communication systems still worked. It is a memorial, Dr. Yelan realized as she read the messages stored in the station's database. They left it for us to find. The memorial contained the history of humanity's time in the galaxy. There were records of every species they had helped, every crisis they had solved, every scientific discovery they had shared. There were personal messages from human families saying goodbye to alien friends they had made. But most importantly, there was an explanation. To our former colleagues in the Galactic Council, the main message began. We leave this record so you will understand why we chose to depart. Zethkar read the message aloud to his team. When we first joined the galactic community, we believed we had found something wonderful. A society of different species working together for the common good. We were eager to contribute our skills and knowledge to this great project. But over time, we realized that we had misunderstood the nature of our relationship. You did not want partners. You wanted servants. You were happy to accept our help, but you resented our suggestions for improvement. You benefited from our work, but you rejected our values. We offered you democracy, and you called it chaos. We offered you individual rights, and you called it weakness. We offered you equality, and you called it naive. We gave you our best efforts, and you gave us criticism and contempt. We do not blame you for this. Perhaps the differences between our species were too great to overcome. Perhaps we expected too much from this partnership. But we cannot continue to give our lives and energy to a society that sees us as a problem to be managed, rather than friends to be valued. So we have chosen to leave. Not in anger, but in sadness. We take with us the hope that someday in some distant place we will find or build the kind of civilization we dreamed of when we first reached for the stars. We wish you well, and we hope you will find your own path to wisdom and peace. The message was signed by the Human Council of Representatives, but there was a personal note at the end. P.S. The early warning systems will fail in approximately 18 months. The communication networks will break down in 6 to 8 months. The research databases need constant maintenance to prevent corruption. We have left detailed instruction manuals in the archives of the Nexus Prime Library. We hope you will use them. Also, please take care of the cleaning robot in our embassy. His name is Charlie, and he has been a faithful friend. Zethkar finished reading and looked around at his team. Everyone was quiet. They knew, Dr. Yilan said finally. They knew exactly what would happen when they left, and they tried to prepare us for it. And we never even looked at the instruction manuals, Pex added quietly. Captain Thera checked her communication system. I am receiving a priority message from Nexus Prime. The Council wants an immediate report on our findings. Zethkar sighed. Tell them we found humanity's homeworld. Tell them the humans are gone and they are not coming back. As their ships prepared to leave the Sol system, Dr. Yilan took one last look at the blue-green planet that had once been home to Hum-1, year after the humans left. The galaxy was dying. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the 15th time that month. The great chamber that had once hosted dignified debates now echoed with desperate arguments and accusations. The Krell hegemony has conquered 47 star systems, Admiral Thyssen reported, his voice heavy with defeat. They now control 1/3 of known space. 3 entire species have been enslaved. What about our rapid response force? Vashti asked. Destroyed. The Krell ambushed our ships at Rigel Station. We lost everything. General Korvex, the Krell representative, stood up from his seat. His armor was decorated with new medals of conquest. The hegemony offers generous terms for surrender. Your people will be treated well under our protection. You mean as slaves, Senator Aldrich shot back. You prefer the chaos and death you have now? Korvex gestured to the half-empty chamber. Many council seats stood vacant. Some representatives had been killed in the ongoing conflicts. Others had simply stopped coming as their worlds fell to various disasters. Dr. Yilan looked up from her datapad. The latest reports show complete system failures across 17 sectors. Communication networks down. Transportation broken. Food distribution collapsed. The refugee count is now over 2 billion beings. 2 billion, Vashti repeated quietly. How did we let this happen? We let the humans leave, Dr. Yilan replied. And we learned too late what they had been doing for us. The past year had been a cascade of disasters. Without human early warning systems, asteroid strikes had destroyed dozens of worlds. Without human peacekeeping forces, old conflicts had exploded into wars. Without human technical support, the infrastructure of galactic civilization had simply fallen apart. Pirates now controlled entire sectors of space. The universal translator had failed completely, making diplomacy almost impossible. Most of the galaxy's scientific knowledge had been lost when the research databases crashed. But perhaps worst of all was the economic collapse. The complex trading networks that connected thousands of worlds depended on trust and stability. When both disappeared, the economy had crashed like a house built on sand. We have to try one more time, Vashti said. There must be some way to contact the humans. Ambassador Zethkar shook his head. I have spent 8 months searching every corner of the galaxy. They are gone, completely gone. Then we send a message into space, a general broadcast. Maybe they will hear it and say what? Please come back and save us from ourselves. If that is what it takes, yes. Dr. Yilan had been working on exactly such a message for weeks. The council had asked her to craft something that would bring the humans home. But every time she tried to write it, she realized how impossible it was. How do you apologize for decades of taking someone for granted? How do you explain that you finally understand their value only after you have lost them? How do you promise to do better when you have proven over and over that you will not change? I have prepared a draft message, she said reluctantly, but I do not think it will work. Read it, Vashti ordered. Dr. Yilan stood up and activated the chamber's communication system. Her words would be broadcast across the galaxy, sent on all frequencies toward the empty space between stars. To humanity wherever you may be, she began. This is Dr. Yilan of the Nexari Union speaking for the Galactic Council. She paused, looking around the nearly empty chamber. So many seats vacant, so many voices silenced. We write to you in our darkest hour. The galaxy is broken. The civilization we thought was strong has crumbled without your presence. We face wars, disasters, and chaos that we cannot handle alone. We know we have no right to ask for your help. For too long we took your contributions for granted. We benefited from your work while criticizing your ideals. We accepted your protection while rejecting your friendship. We understand now what we lost when you left. You were not just another species in our community. You were the heart of our civilization. You were the ones who made everything else possible. We offer you anything you ask for. Full council membership with expanded voting rights. Control over galactic defense forces, the right to veto any law or policy. Name your terms and we will accept them. Please come back. The galaxy needs you. We need you. The message ended and the chamber fell silent. Even General Korvax looked uncomfortable. Will they respond? Vashti asked. I do not know, Dr. Yilan replied. But I doubt it. They waited 3 weeks for an answer. When it came, it was not what anyone expected. The response appeared simultaneously on every functioning communication screen in the galaxy. Not just on council systems, but on personal devices, ship computers, and even emergency broadcasters. The humans had somehow accessed every network at once. The message was simple. We received your call for help. We are sorry, but we cannot return. That was all. No explanation, no negotiation, no hope. But then, an hour later, a second message arrived. This one was longer. To our former colleagues in the Galactic Council, your message has been reviewed by the Human Colonial Assembly. We appreciate your acknowledgement of past mistakes, but we must decline your invitation to return. We left the galaxy not in anger, but in acceptance. We realized that our fundamental values were incompatible with galactic civilization as it existed. Our attempts to promote democracy, individual rights, and peaceful cooperation were consistently rejected. We offered partnership. You demanded subservience. We offered innovation. You demanded conformity. We offered protection. You offered only criticism in return. The current crisis in the galaxy proves our point. When faced with challenges, your first instinct is to look for someone else to solve your problems. Even now, you do not ask how you can work together to build something better. You ask us to come back and fix things for you. We have found something better among the stars. A place where beings can grow and learn without fear, where differences are celebrated, not suppressed, where cooperation comes from shared values, not shared desperation. We wish you well in finding your own path forward. But we will not be part of that journey. Do not follow us. Do not search for us. We have made our choice and it is final. Farewell. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Finally, Senator Aldrich spoke. They are right, you know. Even in our message asking them to come back, we were trying to bribe them with power instead of offering to change ourselves. What do you suggest? Vashti asked. That we abandon the galaxy to chaos? I suggest we try to learn from them. Even now at the end, they are teaching us something. Dr. Yilan pulled up her data files. I have been studying the human systems they left behind. The instruction manuals they mentioned. There are detailed guides for maintaining the early warning networks, repairing the communication systems, and rebuilding the databases. Can we use them? If we work together. If we share resources and knowledge instead of hoarding them. If we put the good of the galaxy ahead of our individual species' interests. General Korvax laughed harshly. You want us to become humans without the humans. That will never work. Why not? Dr. Yilan challenged. Because we are not capable of being better than we are? The argument that followed lasted for hours. Some council members insisted that the old ways could still work. Others demanded immediate surrender to the Krell. A few suggested that maybe, just maybe, they could try to build something new. In the end, the vote was close. By a margin of just 2 votes, the council agreed to try Dr. Yilan's plan. They would attempt to work together to rebuild galactic civilization using the principles the humans had tried to teach them. It would not be easy. Many species would refuse to cooperate. The Krell would continue their conquest. Pirates and raiders would keep attacking. The infrastructure would keep failing. But perhaps if they worked hard enough and learned fast enough, they could build something worth saving. 3 months later, Dr. Yilan stood in the renovated council chambers. The room was smaller now, designed for cooperation rather than grand speeches. Representatives sat in circles instead of formal rows. Decisions were made by consensus when possible, by majority vote when necessary. It was not perfect. Arguments still happened. Some species remained suspicious of others. Progress was slow and difficult. But it was progress. The early warning system was partially restored. The communication networks were limping along with repairs. The pirates had been pushed back from several important trade routes. Most importantly, the different species were finally working together as equals, not because they were forced to, but because they had learned that cooperation was the only way to survive. Do you think the humans know what is happening here? Asked Kalu, her young assistant. Dr. Yilan looked out at the stars through the chamber's large window. Somewhere out there, humanity was building their new civilization. She hoped they were happy. "I think they know," she said, "and I think they are proud of us for finally learning the lesson they tried so hard to teach." "Will they ever come back?" "No, but maybe that is for the best. We needed to learn to stand on our own." In the depths of space, an automated beacon continued its watch. It recorded the slow recovery of galactic civilization.